Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show. I am your host, Andrew, joined as always by Adam. Adam, it's the Super Bowl. It's all the Super Bowl betting odds. Yes, if you're followers on social media, you've probably seen that Sky and Freddie and Gareth are all at the Super Bowl enjoying themselves, interviewing people. We are left back at home to do the actual show, the proper thing.
I am not in New Orleans. You're right. I'm not. I am at home.
We are fully invested in draft, aren't we? Now we're watching film, we're watching all the players, we're getting all of that. So we've kind of made the switch while they're all interviewing people to draft. So we've had a lot of homework to do, and someone's got to do the shows as well, haven't they?
Exactly. I mean, whilst they're out loving life, getting drunk with Adam Rank and God knows what else they've been up to, we have to keep the show on the road. And so really what you're watching is the reliable people of the group, and they're the unreliable people who are, just loving life and interviewing all these big stars. And, I'm just writing notes. That's all I do. So there you go.
Just getting messages from me telling you to watch this player and watch that player.
Exactly, yeah.
What more could you want? As I said, we're here for the Super Bowl betting show. We've got a couple of different things. We're going to go through some stuff on Bet365, which we've been using all year. And then we've got a couple of probably some bigger odds bets and some silly bets and things that we can pluck from Sky Bet as well. So I think we'll jump straight into it and we'll have a quick look at some of the odds on Bet365. So straight off the bat, Adam, before we go into what we found, the spread, you see it there in front of us. It's Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite at -1. Probably a fair spread for a Super Bowl. And I think when you speak to a lot of people, I think a lot of the people's favorite is probably the Eagles when you talk to people, but you can't write off Patrick Mahomes, can you?
No, that does feel like quite a fair assessment for it. It does feel like the common comment, and this is something that has been, we've seen from the guys over in New Orleans, people that they've interviewed, the common comment is that the Eagles are the better all-round team, but the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have Andy Reid, and more often than not, that's enough in order to get you over the line. And so I think that's why you're looking at the -1 here. It is a bit of a coin flip game. It is difficult to come out and really be authoritative when it comes to who you think is going to win this one. I just think it is that kind of thing where we've been saying it for so long now that you just can't really go against the Chiefs. It's almost like they are just, for whatever reason, it's that unknown thing that Mahomes has. It's that the same thing that Tiger Woods had. It's the same thing that Michael Jordan had. It's that no matter what happens, when they really want to turn it on, they can. And almost to a certain extent, the more pressure that gets put on them, the better they get. And us mere mortals fall apart. So it's difficult to go against them because of that.
I suppose another thing they've got in their back pocket is their team has been together for quite a long time now, and there's a lot of return players that have been part of that double Super Bowl winning squad that's going for the three-peat. Whereas you look at the Eagles, and although it wasn't that long ago since they were there, they've got a lot of youngsters on their team that haven't been there before, and this might be their first occasion, and their rookies have really stepped up. But this is a big moment for them. They've not been there before, and the Chiefs have. I think that weighs into it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think experience does help. Obviously, it's like when you are dealing with just the type of players where you know, losing doesn't happen. So, you know, and it doesn't matter how big the occasion is, losing doesn't happen. We carry on, we keep winning, and we just keep going. It is the sort of like a version of the Patriots dynasty, isn't it? Where it's like, you know, if you were to speak ever to listen to like Brady or Gronk or Edelman or any of these guys, it was very much like, well, we're just going to turn up and win because that's what we do. So it kind of is that sort of mantra that you have. And I think that the Chiefs certainly have that. So that experience in them big games obviously will help them. Dealing with this week, you know, the way that Radio Row is and what's going on with all the interviews constantly over the week, which for a normal game you wouldn't have. The Chiefs have done, all these guys have done it before. As you say, some of these younger guys for the Eagles, they haven't. So again, it's dealing with that as well. It is a difficult thing for them to have to cope with. So yeah, I think there is a lot of that in it. And that might be why you're seeing everyone coming out and saying, well, all round the Eagles are the better, you know, team on paper. But because of the experience, because of the feeling of Mahomes just being able to elevate himself as the pressure comes on, you're seeing that they're the -1, you know, favourites for this game. And as I say, it's really difficult to go against them.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at some of the odds then, Adam. Where do you want to go first? What's the first thing you think we should look at when we're going for bets on this game?
So I think, firstly, I mean, after looking at the spread, obviously the over-under is set at 48.5. But I think that's worth sort of like mentioning because a lot of the time in Super Bowls, it does feel quite, you know, tight games, low-scoring games. Defenses come to the fore and you don't see as many points being scored. Having said that, it kind of like you saw with the championship games, they were both of them were quite high scoring games. And it does kind of feel a little bit like in this game, both teams are going to have to score a decent chunk of points in order to be able to win this. So to me, I do feel like the 48.5 is a bit low. And I think that although historically defenses turn up in this, I think there has been a few chinks in the Chiefs' armor when it comes to the defense. And, you know, with the likes of Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts has shown that if the run isn't doing everything, he can pass the ball. And it does feel like that they will be able to do something. And then when you sort of throw in the magic with Mahomes as well, where it doesn't seem to matter who the receiver is. I just think that he can get the ball to them. It does kind of feel like points are going to happen in this game. So for me, 48.5, it feels a little low. I do think that this one could be a bit more of an aggressive, high-scoring game.
Well, last time they met, it was in the 70s, wasn't it? It was they both got into the 30s, I think. Last time they met. So, and like, as we said, it wasn't that long ago they met in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I understand that. I think what maybe it's so low because this is two very, very dominant defenses, isn't it? The defenses are very strong on both these teams. So maybe that's why it's indicating for it to be a bit lower. Maybe, you know, we haven't seen the Chiefs a lot this year. We've seen them win games and we've seen them win with scoring sort of 17 to 24 points. So that might also play into the bookies.
But in the playoffs, it has increased, hasn't it? Like, this is the point. The points have gone up. It almost like as the pressure has come on with the playoffs, the points have started to flow a bit more. And although, yes, the Eagles defense very, very good and have been great all season, you can score against them. You know, I mean, you saw when the Packers played them, they put up a reasonable amount of points against them. The Commanders put up a reasonable amount of points against them. You only really need 22, 23 is what you're probably looking at if you think that the Eagles are going to be able to put up points on the Chiefs, which I think that they got the potential to do. I feel like, you know, that's very doable for both sides to sort of hit that sort of number, and then obviously like one of them wins kind of thing, so it goes over it, and it just kind of feels like it's quite it feels a bit low to me.
Yeah. What's your next area you want to look at for these odds then?
I think if we have a look at touchdown scorers, because that's something that we do obviously quite a lot. To me, I think, the obvious one is Saquon, but he's ridiculously short. To me, I think we're starting to see, aren't we, that when it comes to the goal line for the Chiefs, Kareem Hunt is taken that job away from Pacheco for this season at least. So I think at 7-5, I think Kareem Hunt is definitely worth looking at. I backed him last time in the championship game. I think Xavier Worthy is a really good option, and actually probably the one at the price, to be honest, at 6-4 for all of these guys. I think is
as we've said all season, he's involved in design plays specifically for him in the passing game and also in the rushing game when it comes to the red zone. So I think the odds are fantastic on him when there's design plays specific just for him.
Yeah, he had the most receptions in the championship game and in the divisional game for the Chiefs. And although obviously, although Travis Kelce is shorter, and you do sort of think that he probably will turn up a little bit in this game, you've got to think he's going to do a little bit more than what he did in the championship game. I can't help but feel that Worthy still seems to be the one that is being used the most at the moment. And so I think 6-4 for him is a very, very big price for him. And like you say, getting the targets all the time and design plays for him. So yeah, really like Worthy at 6-4. I'm not overly fussed on the two wide receivers of the Eagles. I think they probably will score a touchdown that way. I just don't particularly. I feel like the prices are not fantastic for it, given the fact that it could go to either one of them. So I'm not overly keen on that. And the rest of them, when you start looking at the bigger prices and you start going over 2-1 here, to me, it feels like they're real sort of punts. Like, I mean, it could happen, but the prices just don't really feel big enough for them. I mean, you saw that Juju Smith-Schuster had he had 2 or 3 receptions in the championship game. And he looked like, one of them could have gone for a touchdown at one point. But at 5-1, I just kind of feel like he's not a big enough price for for what could happen. I mean, it could happen, but it's not massively priced up. So it's a little bit difficult. I kind of feel like if he was the sort of like Jahan Dotson odds, then I would be interested. But at 5-1, it just feels a little bit short. And so there wasn't really much else in this. It's not. I do feel like people try and find big prices, and I feel like you're not going to necessarily find them in this. I think they'll have receptions. I just don't think they'll be the ones scoring the touchdowns.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. We saw Marquise Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster all being used really early against the Bills. And I do feel like out of the two of them, Marquise Brown played more of that Rashee Rice role. Yeah. And I feel like he was targeted more. I think Juju had 2 receptions and 1 was big, but it looked like they were actively trying to get the ball to Brown a bit more. So I think he'd be the one I went for if I was to pick. But I do think any of the receiving options outside of Worthy and Kelce are probably quite difficult to go for. I think the other one you might think about going for is in terms of, yes, you've said that Kareem Hunt gets more of that goal line work, but P. Ryan gets used for the receptions. So could he be involved in a play towards the red zone in a receiving role? Maybe at 8-1. So that for me might be a larger odd stab in the dark. But again, we've said this a lot with the Chiefs from this season and last season. It could go anywhere. Look at the list of red that's on there. It could go anywhere. So I would, yeah, I would probably steer clear of touchdown scorers outside of the big names, and maybe stick some in a bit of a double or a treble if you'd like. I know in the previous page we saw some bet builders that have been made already that had multiple touchdown scorers, and the odds look quite decent actually. Do you like any of the really long odds on any of them at all? I'm not sure I do.
No, I mean it is really difficult to kind of get any sort of excitement over any of them. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to, you could look at Remigio. I believe he was the punt returner, wasn't he? So it's there's potential there at 30-1. I suppose you could look at for the Chiefs, but I mean that really is quite a,
There's a
unlikely to happen.
possibility that
Kenneth Gainwell?
No, I was going to say there's a possibility that the Eagles might have a real heavy run set back in a short yardage attempt at the red zone, which might involve Will Shipley. We saw him come in and relieve Saquon at the end of the game. I think if you've got both of them in the backfield at one point, there could be a chance of a trick that they might hand it off to Shipley, and with them not expecting it to go to him.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it feels very difficult to have any sort of real opinion on any of these big ones because I just don't see them getting involved enough. But yeah, I mean that kind of involvement, I suppose, could potentially happen. So someone like Shipley might be the way forward at 12-1. Like I say, to me, it feels like a lot of these big price ones, and when I say big price, I kind of mean like double figure what odds I just don't think they're going to get involved enough. The only one really to me is Dotson, who could potentially be out there and might see a little bit of game time, but I mean, going up against this Chiefs defense, I just feel like it's not. I think the ball's just going to go to the normal guys in this, and I think they're going to have pretty big games. So yeah, I mean, I suppose the one that we haven't really spoken about on the Eagles side is Dallas Goedert.
Decent odds as well, not bad odds.
Yeah, 7-2. He scored in the last game.
He got all of the ball last game.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he obviously he does get a fair few receptions from Jalen Hurts, so it's entirely plausible that could be one. But again, it's kind of like it feels very much like, yeah, but you got to think it's going to go to Barkley or Brown or Smith before, and that's where it kind of becomes almost like he's going to be the guy that gets them over the line for a first down rather than
a chain mover rather than a touchdown scorer.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said I think it's going to go to the main guys, and I think it's going to go to them a lot. Would you say that if that's the way forward, that we should be looking at bet builders of receptions and yards as a way forward rather than touchdown scorers to get these better odds?
Well, I think that if you're going to do a bet builder, myself, I think that you probably want to be looking, if you're going to do touchdown scorers, I think you're going to be looking at the main guys and only the main guys for it. But after that, for anyone else, in order to sort of like boost up the price, then yeah, you're going to be looking at receptions, probably receptions more than yards. Actually, I would have thought is what you really want to be going for. I mean, I've got one for you if you want that I've done, which I did on the Bet365. So it's only 9-1, so it's not a massive odds one, but I did Barkley anytime and Xavier Worthy anytime. And then, as you say, for the receptions, I've done Dallas Goedert 4+ receptions, which is what he has had in all 3 of the playoff games so far. Juju 2 receptions plus, and Hollywood Brown 2 receptions plus. So Oh, and I had Xavier Worthy to get 30 yards plus, which he's done in all of the playoff games as well. So all of that was 9-1. So yeah, I mean, for me, the likes of Juju and Hollywood Brown, Mahomes wants to throw the ball around all over the place to multiple receivers. I think these guys will get involved, and as much as I expect Kelsey to do more, I think there is a limit to what you get from Kelsey now, and so that almost like just encourages that to happen. And both teams are pretty good against the run, so I do feel like you're going to end up where they're both going to obviously try and use the run, try and do that as much as possible. But I do just think that the ball is going to get sprayed around a lot for the Chiefs, and that Jalen Hurts will have to use Dallas Goedert to get himself out of trouble sometimes. So that's why I think them guys are the ones personally to focus on.
Yeah, I went for a bit of a safe one when I was looking through them of yards, and I kind of went all of the main big players. So Brown, Kelsey, Worthy, Goddard, and Smith, all to have 40 yards.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was overly challenging for any of them to get, even if they have a bit of a slow game. And then I thought, I do think Hollywood Brown and Smith-Schuster might get the ball. So I had them, I think I had Brown having 30 and Schuster having 20. And that came in at 20-1. So big gambles with Brown and Smith-Schuster, because it could equally go to Hopkins. Who knows? But I felt like 20 and 30 yards, I wasn't asking much, and I wasn't asking loads for the big names either. I suppose you can have a little play around with that. I left it at that, and I did notice if you really, really liked AJ Brown or Xavier Worthy for this one, the odds, if you wanted to add 50, 60 yards on, would go up to 22 and 24, and you're only going to get better. So if you want to do 40 for the rest, and there's two you really like, and you want to go 50, 60 yards, you're only going north of 20-1. So you could maybe even drop Smith-Schuster from it and add Worthy or Brown or something like that to have more and still come out at 20-1. So like you said earlier, it is going to go to the key players. Why not put your money on all of the key players having a little bit of the ball?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It really isn't, because I think, like you say, I think there's going to be quite a bit of passing in this game, and it's like they both are very good defenses against the run. They can only do so much, sort of thing. The running back. So as great as Barkley is, I think, again, you see a history of it. The Chiefs, when they've gone up against these really top quality running backs, they do limit what they can do. Now, he will still do well, it's like because of who he is, but he won't be. I would be surprised if you're seeing like 200 yards from him. I just don't see that happening against the Chiefs. But I think they're going to have to pass the ball a bit more. And yeah, the likes of AJ Brown, Devon Smith, 40 yards, it's not that much, really. It's, you would hope that these sort of things would come in. Obviously, on the Chiefs side of it, Kelsey didn't do that last week in the championship game. So that, there is a little bit of a concern there. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to have to use him
For this
a bit
game.
more.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
gonna,
you got to think so. My only issue...
We don't know this. Speculation. Could be his last game. Could be.
I mean, he came out, didn't he, and said that, didn't someone come out and ask him where does he hope to be in 3 years' time or something? And he said still playing. So,
well,
I mean, but,
if he wins
who
this
knows?
and it's a three-peat, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think they'll definitely want to get the ball to him and make sure he's got in the end zone and with the ball and receptions and yards. So everybody wants to carry on playing for. He'll want to try and outdo his brother, won't he? So,
well, you sort of think to yourself, if even if you've won 3 in a row, why does it change anything? Really? I mean, like, the quarterback's still going to be there. Andy Reid's come out and said he's coming back next year already. Why would you want to give that up? Because there's a chance you could go 4 in a row. I mean, it's entirely plausible. I mean, all we've done is criticize about how bad they've been this year, and then they've gone 15-1, and won both of their playoff games and are in the Super Bowl and are favourites to win it again. So it's like, it's entirely possible that you could be looking at this for a good few years. And also, I think one thing that a lot of people focus on Kelsey a lot with the Chiefs. They're not gonna get worse anytime soon.
Well, they got Rashee Rice coming back next year.
Exactly.
Like a stud wide receiver one. So
yeah. So this is the thing. It's like Mahomes is giving them a decent deal as well. So they've got cap space. They've got the ability to make moves. As you say, they're going to have Rashee Rice back. This isn't, even if Kelsey goes, this isn't a team that's going away anytime soon. So it's like, this is to a certain degree, if you think in that way, why would you give that up if you feel you can keep going?
Yeah, even if you have like Gronk did at the back end of his year, where it's very limited role, but you just part of the team, have the odd completion, turn up in the playoffs a bit, get another ring. Why not?
I mean, we were saying, well, I mean, look, they've got Noah Gray, and I personally think Noah Gray is all right. He's not a bad tight end, but we've got a draft this year that's really strong on tight ends. There's quite a lot of them. There's no reason why they can't go and draft a tight end in, like, I don't know, 3rd round, 4th round, get themselves a good tight end, use them for the majority of the season, and then Kelsey rocks up at the important parts in the playoffs and stuff like that, and happy days, and you get another one. So it is something where I think people seem to think that once Kelsey retires, it'll all be okay. But firstly, why bother retiring? And secondly, even if he does, it won't be all okay because they'll still be really good. So,
there's an area, before I'm going to move to a different section, there's an area that I found I really, really like, and I've had it a few times this season. It has paid up for me this year. And I feel like when you've got two really good defenses like this, it's worth looking at the sack odds, because you can get yourself in here a very, very nice. So we saw, I think the Chiefs had 3 sacks, the Eagles had 4, something like that in the last game. But if I've done 2 from the Chiefs, 2 from the Eagles, I think there's a possibility that that's 2 sacks and 2 sacks is nothing. So I've gone for Kaloftis, who is the leading sack for the Chiefs. I've paired that with Chris Jones, just because I think it's the Super Bowl. So Chris Jones is going to turn up at some point. And then I went Nolan Smith, who's the leading sack for the Eagles, and Jalen Carter as well in that. And that came out 18-1. Now, if I said to you, Adam, which 4 would you like? 2 from one team, 2 from another. Who would you pick? Because obviously, Wharton's obviously been sacking a lot of people lately, and a lot of people are really high on Zach Bourne. And if you add Zach Bourne to it, the odds shoot up massively. So pick 2 and 2, and I'll just tell you the odds of it. And I don't think that I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah, so for the Chiefs, I think you've got the right 2 already. It kind of feels like that's what makes most sense. I must admit, for me on the Eagles, I was going to say Zach Bourne, and probably,
but
I probably would go Nolan Smith.
Even if you were unsure and you were like, I think it is Zach Bourne, and you went, oh, do you know what? I'll stop there. And you just had the 2 from the Chiefs and the 1 of Zach Bourne, 25-1. I feel like there's odds to be had and there's money to be won in this sack area of anybody you like or anybody that you're fond of. As I said, if you think, like I said, Wharton's had a fair few sacks. He's the second leader of the Chiefs and had one last game. If you just had the 2, Zach Bourne and Wharton, it's 18-1. So you're only asking for 2 sacks there. So
yeah, you've said this before, haven't you? Where you've done this, and it does feel a little bit like this is a potential market where certain sites are maybe not quite on it. as much
They're
with what's
focused
actually
on
happening.
the
Yeah, they're focused
receptions
on the
and the
touchdown
touchdowns and
scorers
everything like
and
that. Yeah.
I think we've probably been guilty of it a little bit where we've never really spoken too much about this. But yeah, it does feel like this is an area where there is some prizes. I mean, Zach Bourne has had a really, really good season, and yet he's 5-1 to get one sack. And I mean, yes, I can completely understand why Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are the favourites, the top two on the Eagles side to get a sack. But yeah, I mean, you're right. When you look at these things from happening, obviously it's a long shot. Of course it is. But actually, you say it was 18-1 for the
Yeah.
four. Yeah. So for 18-1, in order to be able to get an 18-1 shot on touchdown scorers, you're not, you're not getting it unless literally everyone scores, or like of the top guys, or
And you
something
kind of
pretty
need the
crazy
players.
happen.
You need them to be in the red zone. You need them to be in a point to score a touchdown. This can happen at any point.
Yeah,
It can happen at the
exactly.
end of the game, the
So
start of the game, in the middle. It's not time permitting. It's sacking the quarterback. It can happen if you're losing, if you're winning. It's they're always going to be there trying to do that. Whereas, and if you pick the big names that are always there pressuring the quarterback, you don't always get that with touchdown scorers. They might not be involved in that play, if that makes sense.
I think it might be possibly next season. It might be something that we might have a look at a little bit more and make sure that we look on them, because it is available, isn't it, as a market every week?
As I said, I've had it a few times during the year. I know I haven't brought it to the show, but I've had a lot of success with it, and I haven't had to add many things to it. I've added maybe, like, sometimes, like you say, you can just add two people that you really like. And the odds are good enough. I did one for you there that just had two people on it, and the odds were sort of 20-1, so 25-1. So it's well worth bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go next, then, Adam?
I haven't really got anything more on Bet365. I've just got some stupid ones on. Well, not stupid actually. I think they might win, but they're just sort of.
I went on. While I was on Bet365, there was, if I can find it again, maybe it's not on there anymore. Futures. Right, they've got some little ones on here with some nice little blurb about why it might work, and I like.
Okay, I haven't seen any of these. So.
Right. Where's the one I really liked? It was an AJ Brown and Devonta Smith one. Is it at the top?
Yeah, at the top.
No, that's not. Is that both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got that
to combine for 10 receptions, 150 receiving yards, and either to record a 40-yard reception.
I thought that was quite nice. We saw them have loads of targets. They had 6 and 7 targets. I think it says in there, 7 receptions and 100 yards, 6 receptions, 96 yards. Obviously, they had the touchdown. I think AJ Brown at any time can have a big, long touchdown. So at 11-2, I quite like the odds on that. There's no touchdown involved in it. It's just the 10 combined, 10 receptions, 150 yards. I think that's got a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they did it in the last game, didn't they, against the Commanders? I don't know. The 150 yards combined and 10 receptions. I think you're going to find that, although there's going to be passing involved, I think Goddard is going to take receptions away from that, and I don't know if you get 150 yards between the two. Don't know.
Well,
yeah, it's not something I'd be looking at.
I thought this one was worth £1 if you wanted it. Jalen Hurts, 25 plus pass completions and a 25 plus yard run.
So now so you sort of think to yourself, that isn't completely out of the question, but 25-yard rush is a long way.
Well, it says in the little synopsis underneath it. Jalen Hurts completed 27 passes in Super Bowl 57, and he also had the longest run of 28 yards. So he did it last Super Bowl. And then it also says that this season, the Chiefs have allowed this to happen by Josh Allen and Bo Nix.
Yeah. You can put a pound on it. I'll let you.
At 50 to 1, I think it's worth a pound. So that was, out of all of them, they were about the only ones I liked out of there. There's some good ones in there if you want to go through them and have a look with a lot shorter odds. Look, you can see the Kareem Hunt one there at 8 to 5. But I just wanted to bring those two to the table because I quite thought they longer odds and had a chance. So you want to look at Bet3, some Sky Bet ones, do you?
Yeah, so I didn't get loads on Sky Bet, but I just had a few that were on there. As I've already mentioned, with the Bet365, it's the same price. So Xavier Worthy, anytime touchdown at 6 to 4. I think he's, like we said about the touchdown. So I kind of had him. He's 6 to 4. Sky Bet 6 to 4 on Bet365. So he's worth having a look at. They did a sort of like a double touchdown scorers thing they've got on there as well, where if you go onto the team one, the actual game even, and I'll try and, where is it? It was basically two players to score touchdowns. As we mentioned about Worthy, really like Worthy at the 6-4 price, but you could throw Barkley into it as well. And if you went for both of them, then that was 3 to 1. And I know it's not massive odds, but I kind of just feel like if anyone's going to score on the Eagles side, you kind of feel like it probably will be Barkley. So if he can go with Worthy, who I think will score in this, then yeah, 3 to 1 kind of feels like a slightly nicer one to go for. There is a few of them actually where you are using the sort of main guys here, so you can go sort of higher. I mean, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown both to score a touchdown is 4 to 1. So there's a few of them where it's not out of the question, and you're not actually using any of the sort of players that we mentioned that were sort of like a lot further down. So there are some decent odds there. I mean, Kareem Hunt and Xavier Worthy, that happened in the championship game, 5 to 1. So these are on Sky Bet, so they're not too bad, these ones. Other ones were kind of just a couple of requester bets that I kind of like the look of. They're not massive prices, but they're all right. One was both teams to score 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown at 15 to 8. I thought that's entirely plausible given the way that both of these offenses run. It feels like there is a desire to keep the run going as much as possible. And so I think at 15 to 8, it's not bad considering, you've got these quarterbacks that are really good in the passing game, but also both of them can score rushing touchdowns themselves, but also the running backs are very good as well. And then the other one that I kind of went for, which was a slightly big price, both teams score 1 field goal in each half at 13 to 2. The reason that I kind of like the look of that one is you do have 2 decent defenses here. So it's entirely plausible that they do get stopped before they get into the end zone. You're indoors. You've got no weather concerns when it comes to it. So based on that theory, you would hope that kicking would be easier. Obviously, it's a Super Bowl, so there is that problem to it. But you would kind of hope that, without any sort of conditions causing problems there for them, that would help them. So yeah, at 13 to 2, I thought that was something that could come in as well. On top of the fact that we also, like we have said, historically, it's, pressure gets to players. And so maybe you will have more field goals than you will have touchdowns. But yeah, at 13 to 2, I thought that wasn't a bad price.
Any others for here? Do you know what we haven't spoke about? I don't know whether you've got it. MVP.
The MVP for the game. Yeah. It's a bit of a. I always find it a really difficult one because you just know it's going to go to the quarterback, but you have got Barkley, who's actually shorter odds than Jalen Hurts here. So,
Yes. And Jalen Hurts could quite easily run all the touchdowns in.
Yeah. So, 7-2, he is appealing.
But they've got to win the Super Bowl.
But they have to win. But he is appealing at 7-2. I personally think the Chiefs win, it goes to Mahomes. It doesn't so there isn't anyone on the. I think Worthy could get 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and it'd still go to Mahomes. So I don't think you've got anything other than Mahomes if it's a Chiefs win. So even money,
yeah,
I'm not really that excited.
I think there's going to be some bias as well. We've had previous years. The Patriots had one when Edelman was the MVP, I think, and we had the Broncos when Von Miller won the MVP, I think.
Yes,
instead of Manning. So it's not always gone to a quarterback.
Not always, no.
I think there is going to be some bias here because I did think, should I look at Karlaftis or Chris Jones because they might have, big sack fumbles or something like that. But I think even if that happens, it will still go to Mahomes if the Chiefs win, just because it's Mahomes. Yeah.
I don't. I think the one thing that we haven't really spoken about with this is obviously both teams' O-lines are pretty good as well. So there is going to be an element of being able to sort of contain some of these edge rushers a little bit better maybe than what other teams would be able to do. But for this, I just feel like Chris Jones or Karlaftis could get 2-3 sacks. I don't think it matters because if the Chiefs win, it goes to Mahomes. I think that's just how it's going to be. With the Eagles, it's slightly different because of Barkley being there. And although you see, Barkley could go and for what? I don't know, 120 yards and a couple of touchdowns. But the thing is that if Hurts gets a couple of touchdowns as well, then it probably ends up going to Jalen Hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, and this is the thing. So the 7-2 for Jalen Hurts is appealing if you believe that the Eagles are going to win it. Unfortunately, I don't, so I won't be backing it. But for anyone who does, I think you're probably this might be your time to get the price from Hurts because Barkley is there.
If you're an Eagles fan and you've got £1 to spare, I can see a path for Cooper DeJean to get MVP if he has an interception and a return, because he returns the kicks and he returns a kick for a touchdown.
So not much then.
I mean, he returns the kicks, so there's a possibility of it, and he's a cornerback, so there's.
So you want him to have an interception, have a pick six, and
not pick six,
return.
Just an interception and then return.
Just an interception and return a touchdown.
Yeah, he doesn't need a pick six. I just think those two things would probably get it him.
I don't think it does. I think it just goes to the offense. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying, but I just feel like it's the same old story when it comes to MVP in this market. It goes to the quarterback. Yes, you get the odd one or two. You do over history. Of course, you get the odd one or two where it goes slightly against it, but the vast majority of the time, it goes to the quarterback.
Have you got any more odds you want to look at, or do you want to look at the most important one that we all care about?
Well, I think we should look at whatever you believe the most important one is that we all care about. I'm guessing it's the Gatorade colour is where you're taking me here.
Yeah. So we know that the last time the Eagles won, it was yellow and green. So that is 2-5. We know that the last 2 years that the Chiefs have won it, they've gone purple, which is the second favorite, at 7-2. But Their one prior to that, they went orange at 9-1. So they could roll it back retro and go orange, or we could see them have three-peat purple.
Repeat.
What? So I think, looking at it, blue has been popular over the last sort of, since sort of 2018. Blue's been picked 3 times, and nothing else has, other than purple twice. But I can't see any connections with them having blue involved in it. And red and pink's never been picked.
Which is weird, isn't it? Because you would think
A lot of red
it
teams.
would be a popular choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like purple's the bet then.
Or orange.
Yeah, I mean, no one's backing yellow green at that price. As you say, if the Eagles win, it probably will be that. But yeah, I mean, if they've gone purple twice and orange once, then they are probably the bets to be having. If you want to get a little bit of money out of it, I say go orange, 9-1, bit bigger price. Why not?
Roll it back to when they won it the first time, so in 2020.
Exactly. There you go. So yeah, I mean,
did they beat the Eagles in that one as well? Was that against the Eagles for 2021? Yeah. Was it?
Don't know. No, they beat him in 2022.
22-23, yeah.
Yeah, is when they beat. Yeah, sorry, 22-23. So yeah, I have no real opinion on the length of the national anthem before you ask me.
I looked at all of them. The money's not even worth it, is it?
You not want to get on the 10 to 11? No.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I also
who will the MVP mention first in a speech?
I mean, if it's Mahomes,
Taylor Swift.
I think family might come first for
Do you think? Really? He's gone down the religious route a few times, hasn't he?
Please, I'd just, love it if it was Taylor Swift. Well, if Kelsey wins the MVP, it might be.
I'm not sure where Kelsey would go. Actually, he would be the wild card if he won it, because it could go anywhere.
He'd probably know these odds prior and be like, right, all those people out there that've got money on this.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, a bit of a weird one. But yeah, there isn't really that much. I mean, if you fancy a punt, Chiefs to win the coin toss and win the Super Bowl at 5-2. If you like the Chiefs, if you like the Eagles, could do both 3-1. There's not much here, to be brutally honest. We have to say, just for anyone who is still listening, Kendrick Lamar is not really in either of our. I don't know a lot about it.
I usually quite enjoy the picking people at the music side of it and the halftime show and the odds.
We need Sky for this, and Sky's buggered off in your league.
The only knowledge I've got of Kendrick Lamar is I know Arsenal played it when they beat Man City because they played humble. That is literally the only thing I've got in the locker for that. What you could have a look at, and I know we've spoke about this before, there might be some a market for it, and a guest. Now, we've always said, and I wish if you have a look at what parties have gone on prior to the Super Bowl and who's been attending and who's at them, might lead you to who might be a guest at it. If we get some inside info from the guys that we have got over in the Super Bowl at the minute, that go to party and are like, yep, I saw Rihanna there, then I'm putting some money on Rihanna. But it's not my wheelhouse with Kendrick Lamar. I'm not looking forward to it, to be fair. I like old school people for Super Bowl halftime shows.
How old school are you talking here?
I mean, I enjoyed it when McCartney did it. I enjoyed it when Tom Petty did it. I enjoyed it when Prince did it, things like that. So I don't know. I like the older. Well, I did enjoy when you had all of Eminem and Dr. Dre and all of that, like, because of the age I was when growing up and they were on the scene. So yeah. Otherwise, just get someone out that's poppy and fun, Katy Perry, or I personally wouldn't have minded it being Miley Cyrus, but that's me.
I mean, that's admitting things you might not want to admit on a betting show. Miley Cyrus, there you go. You heard it here first. He would like Miley Cyrus as the halftime show.
Yes, I would.
Fair enough.
Who would you like?
I wouldn't. I have no opinion on any of them, really. There isn't anyone. I would have liked the Killers to have done it at one point.
Well, last year would have been a good shout for them because they were from Vegas, weren't they? So
yeah, I think they would have been good for it. That sort of thing. That was always my kind of go-to when I was younger. So, so yeah, something like that. But not Kendrick Lamar, I'm afraid.
No.
Disappointing halftime show.
The more modern fan will enjoy it.
Yeah, disappointing for us.
It is massive.
We're too old.
So we're just we're out the scene, aren't we? We're too old school.
I mean, I'm not sure we were ever in the scene, but like, yeah, we're definitely out of it now. So
yeah. Well, is there anything you want to add?
No. I think that's a good thing to wrap it up on, as we've discovered that we're old and useless. So,
well, as always, keep your eye out on all of the stuff we're posting while the guys are at the Super Bowl. Please give it a like and comment on it if you see it. Really appreciate all the support. We will be back with a load of draft content. We've got our mock draft. We've got our top 10s at all the positions. We'll have mock the mock. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Me and Adam will be back doing all of that. We might even get Alex involved at some point, who has another article out. But till then, keep with the franchise tag and see you again very soon.